Batman has an outstanding mythos and a lot of characters. I'm currently doing a series of videos in which I, the film watcher, will be recasting Batman characters. So today I'll be getting to the major allies of the Batman, those being Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, Stephanie Brown, Carrie Kelley, Cassandra Cain, and Barbara Gordon. I decided not to cast Damian Wayne, not because I don't like the character, but because Adam Driver, who I cast as Batman, is 37 years old, meaning he would have had to have been about 20 when he had him, especially if I were to cast Aidan Gallagher, who is 17. And I would cast Aidan Gallagher for the role. And he wouldn't have been Batman at age 20, so I'm not going to bother casting him. I'll also save Catwoman for a villains episode, in which I can talk about her more extensively. But I also won't be casting Batwoman because I don't think Batwoman is a very interesting character. Also, there's the Batwoman show that's going on right now, so yeah, there's no point in introducing a new version of that character. And I don't really want to introduce a new version of that character anyway. So, first up is Dick Grayson, the most represented character in cinema at this point. We got Burt Ward in the 60s, and he was wonderful. And then there was Chris O'Donnell, and he was really, really bad. And then Michael Cera voiced Dick in the Lego Batman movie, and he was enjoyable. However, there is an opportunity to make this character awesome. Now, Dick Grayson started out in the circus in a trapeze act with his parents. One night during a performance, mobster Tony Zuko shot the rope holding his parents, and they fell 70 feet to their deaths, orphaning the boy. Bruce Wayne takes him in and trains him to be Robin. The first Robin, in fact. Dick Grayson is a little impatient, but in a Luke Skywalker sort of way. The actor needs to have a lean, slender build and have at least a little experience in gymnastics, as well as be almost 20. Now, for the life of me, I couldn't decide between a mid-20s Dick Grayson and one that's around 18. So I eventually decided on Finn Wolfhard. The other option was Timothy Chalamet, but I just think that Wolfhard has the exact skills to play Grayson. He could be a little impatient, as we've seen in Stranger Things, but he's also played the leader, and he did it wonderfully, especially in the first season. I think he could play the sadness of losing his parents, as well as being taken in by Batman. He's 5'10", which works well. He's also 18 years old, which I like for a Dick Grayson that interacts with a 37-year-old Batman. I think Wolfhard is one of the best young actors working today, and aside from gymnastic experience, he has every skill necessary for this role. Next up is Jason Todd, a really interesting character. Now, Jason Todd was a petty thief, stealing cars, vandalizing public property, what have you. So Bruce Wayne took him in and trained him as the second Robin. And a few months into his career as Robin, Jason was blown up by the Joker, leaving Batman devastated. And a few months later, a criminal named the Red Hood surfaced in Gotham and was eventually revealed to be Jason Todd himself. So Jason has to have a little bit of a mean streak. He has a lot of pent-up rage and aggression. He has no problem killing people, though Batman probably doesn't let him do it. Jason is an incredible fighter, so it is imperative that the actor has some experience in combat and or dancing. The actor has to be able to handle the intense drama that comes with his character as well. A desperate street kid, a pupil to Batman, a hero, and a villain. Under the Red Hood is a storyline that I'd like to see adapted. My original choice was Dacre Montgomery, but at 26, I think he's just a little too old. So my choice is Tanner Buchanan. He was Robbie in Cobra Kai, a character with a similar arc and backstory to Jason. He can pull off the dark, aggressive side of this character as well as the superhero. Robbie's a vandal and a thief who's then taken in by Daniel LaRusso, the Karate Kid. He gets a better attitude, but then he gets arrested and takes a turn for the worse in Season 3. So that wasn't a very good idea for the character, but still. It's kind of scary how similar he is to Jason Todd. I know he can pull off every facet of this character because I've seen him do it before. He also has plenty of combat experience as demonstrated in Cobra Kai. He actually has dance experience, which is probably why he's so good at following the action choreography. He's 22, 5'6", and has a face that would work very nicely for this character. Moving on, we have Tim Drake. Now, a similar character to Tim Drake was included in The Dark Knight Rises, that being Joseph Gordon-Levitt's John Blake, who I really liked in that film. Now, Tim Drake is a 16-year-old high school student who figures out Batman's secret identity. How? It kind of depends on the story. He's really, really smart and is just a very kind and likable person. He's the nice guy. Dick Grayson is impatient, Jason Todd is a supervillain, the others have there's stuff going on, which I'll get into later, but anyway, Tim Drake is just really genuine. So I wanted to cast a younger actor for this role. I mean, Timothy Chalamet would be fantastic if he was 10 years younger, but he's 25, and Tim Drake is in high school. That said, I decided on Noah Jupe. I've had my eye on his career for a few years, and he's had some really solid movie roles. He was in Wonder as Jack Will, and he played this really noble kid who had faults, but wasn't afraid to step up for what he believed in. He was in A Quiet Place and A Quiet Place Part 2 as Marcus, and he was wonderful, especially in the second one. He was in the Best Picture nominated Ford vs. Ferrari, an excellent film. He played Ken Miles, played by Christian Bale's son, and he was just wonderful. He's a very talented actor and can pull off the intelligence and kindness of this character. I don't know how much action experience he has, aside from running around in a quiet place, but we can work on that. Either a stunt double or training. He does have a very athletic build and is exactly 16, which works, and though he does have a very youthful and boyish face, he can pass for 16 because, he is. Next up is Stephanie Brown, one of the lesser-known Robins. Now, her father is Arthur Brown, aka Clue Master, who I do intend to cast at some point. She becomes the hero known as Spoiler in order to get in the way of his criminal activity. She's actually Batgirl at one point, but I want to focus on her as Spoiler, and maybe Robin at one point. She's a kind person, but she also has to deal with the conflict of her father becoming a criminal. I'd also like to have a nice sense of humor. With that said, I decided on Emily Rudd. She was great in Fear Street Part 2, 1978, and was also in the third movie. We don't talk about that. She can play the emotional side of this role, as was displayed in that film. I didn't expect a movie about a murderer loose in a summer camp to actually have good emotional scenes. She had a sort of uptight nature, but was able to be kind of a badass on occasion. She's 28 right now, which is probably too old to play the role, but she had me convinced she was 18 in Fear Street 2, so there you have it. She can make this character stand out nicely. Next is Carrie Kelley, the Robin in Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. I don't want to do The Dark Knight Returns for this particular adaptation, but it would be cool to see Carrie show up in some capacity. She's fun, bubbly, and spunky, which directly contrasts with Batman's personality. I'd like to see Elle McKinnon in this role. She was in Wonder alongside Noah Jupe, and she was really good in that film. She's exactly 14, which works nicely for Carrie, and she has that bubbly and fun nature that the character requires. Next up is Cassandra Cain. Now, I am a person who likes Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, even though it has a really long title, and I enjoyed Ella J. Bosco in the role of that film. Cassandra Cain is the daughter of David Cain and Lady Shiva. She has some dark tendencies, being the daughter of an assassin and one of the greatest martial artists of all time. Her father raised her to only know the language of killing. He doesn't even speak English around her, so she doesn't learn any other languages besides killing. She's young, but she's been through a lot. With that said, I went with Kaylin Teague. She was young Alina Starkov in the recent Netflix series Shadow and Bone, and though she didn't have that many scenes, I think she did a very good job. She played someone who was going through something, and I think she could translate that very nicely to Cassandra Cain. She also played an orphan in Shadow and Bone, and Cassandra isn't, but she probably wishes that she does, so that's something. She's exactly 14, which works for the character. So lastly, we have Barbara Gordon. We've had two cinematic Barbara Gordons so far. Rosario Dawson voiced her in the Lego Batman movie, and she was pretty solid. And the other was Alicia Silverstone in Batman and Robin, and like most things about that movie, she was terrible. Anyway, so Barbara Gordon is a very interesting character. She's the daughter of Jim Gordon, who works extremely hard to keep her safe. She's extremely devoted to him, but that doesn't mean she won't become Batgirl and disobey him directly. She starts fighting crime and occasionally works with Batman. Above all things with these two, their relationship should be fully platonic. I don't like the idea of Batman dating Batgirl. He's only into criminals, remember? I hate it when Batman has love interests that aren't Selena Kyle or Talia al Ghul. They're never interesting. None of that. Anyway, I'd like to tackle the Oracle storyline when she's been Batgirl for a while. And if you're unfamiliar, Barbara is actually shot by the Joker and becomes paralyzed from the waist down. Barbara's very resourceful. She's an extremely skilled detective, and she's a little less aggressive than Batman. She has a very different worldview that ends up being a great contrast to him. She's trained in the same combat the police officers are, so the actress has to be able to pull that off, as well as the slightest optimism of the character. That said, I decided to cast Zendaya. It is amazing that she started her career with Disney Channel shows. Like, the first thing I saw her in was a show called KC Undercover. So that's weird, but she's actually grown into an incredible performer. She played one of the best MCU love interests in the Spider-Man movies. She was excellent. She was also in The Greatest Showman, and she had some pretty intense scenes in that movie. What I'm really looking at is a more recent film, Malcolm and Marie, in which she starred alongside John David Washington, the son of Denzel Washington, who I cast as Gordon, and honestly, she was just amazing. She pulled off the sadness and the desperation, as well as the badassery that would be perfect for Barbara Gordon. She can do action, and she did a lot of dancing in The Greatest Showman, or maybe that was a stunt double, but I don't know. And she has dance training, as seen in The Greatest Showman. And if you can dance well, you can follow action choreography. She's 5'10" and 24 years old, and she'd be wonderful as Barbara Gordon. And that's it. I'll be getting to the GCPD next, and then the villains. I am so excited to recast some of these villains, you guys. I do want to cast some GCPD people, but I have a long string of videos planned for these villains. Anyway, thanks for a lot for watching. Like, subscribe, and keep calm and watch on.